pull the plug on your act. This week, get 0% financing for 1 year on home, car, and portable stereo equipment at Best Buy.
Suzuki Incorporated announces the 2 for sale. 2 new Suzukis for 1 low price. Now you can have this fun-to-drive Suzuki Sidekick 4-door with 4-wheel drive and this really sporty Suzuki Swift 2-door, both for only $389 down and $389 a month. That's right, you can get both for $389 down and $389 a month. With payments this low for 2 new Suzukis, imagine how little only one would be. The 2 for sale at Suzuki Incorporated, a great deal at 4515 Merle Hay Road on the Merle Hay Auto Mile in Des Moines.
Start your mornings with Regis and Kathy Lee, weekdays at 9 on TV8.
Good morning. It is Tuesday, July 7th. I'm Harry Smith.
And I'm Connie Chung, in this week for Paula Zahn. Welcome to CBS This Morning.
Making headlines this morning, violence breaks out in New York City. At least 1 is dead after a night of rampaging.
Plus, BMWs made in the USA. Why the German car maker is heading to South Carolina.
And some big city heroes hit the streets to bring health care to the homeless.
Morning, Hare.
Morning. How you doing, Connie?
Just great.
Saw on the evening news last night.
Thank you. Yes, I'm glad you watched.
Are you getting OT this week?
Little OT? Yeah, sure. Double time. Golden time. It's beautiful. But OT, but no sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You take a little nap during the day?
I do take a little nap. That was your advice, which is very good advice.
Mm-hmm.
Go home and take a little nap, otherwise you get a little too goofy by late in the evening.
Or in the morning.
Oh, I know. Harry, I must tell you, one of the stories we have today, I know you're saying to yourself,
Mm-hmm. Connie?
Why would I be interested in Spartanburg, South Carolina, getting a BMW plant? It really means a lot of jobs, and I bet other cities and states can do the same thing if they do it as smartly as Spartanburg. Actually, South Carolina and the entire state did.
It's a big coup for them.
It is. It's fascinating, too.
Yeah.
We'll get into that.
Also, a little bit later on this morning, other real-life heroes, including one who saved a young boy from drowning in a flooded stream, and a judge who risked his life to save a woman from being assaulted.
Great. Love hero stories. And coming right up, who will Bill Clinton pick for vice president, and when will he announce it? We'll talk to a key leader in the Clinton organization. I know I'm not going to put you on the spot as to who, but what do you think? I love these political machinations.
Where are the women? Where are the women? Where are the minorities?
Yeah.
You see anybody on the list other than a bunch of white guys?
You're absolutely right. Isn't he sweet? A nice white guy saying something like that? But let me ask you something. When do you think he's going to do it? I know this doesn't make any difference to anybody, but I think it's fun. Between now and Monday, when the Democratic Convention begins, or during...
Well,
you know
there's a whole group that says you have to wait till the convention, so that gives the convention a little...
Right.
Right?
Uh-huh.
Although Mario Cuomo's going to talk, that's going to give it some...
That's right. Well, one other quick thing, even though the producer's trying to get us to, go on. It could be during the All-Star game. CBS is broadcasting the All-Star game
on
Tuesday.
Nay.
That's
no,
right.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Because it'll leak out anyway before, and so if they tried to time it during that, forget it.
Right. Should we get some weather this morning from Mark McEwen?
Sure.
All right.
What? Now I want to hear the rest of this. This is...
We're just getting warmed up here.
Golden time
so
working
boring.
with you, Connie. It's golden time. And you too, big guy. Let's take a look at the weather and talk about it real quickly. What do I know, right? Hot town, summer in the city. Back of my neck getting dirty and gritty down south. Look at those temperatures, very hot. If you want to go north and wash that heat off of you, got some rain in the Midwest and nice on either coast. We'll talk all about that, and maybe a little bit about the Democratic selection for vice president.
That's
coming
right.
up.
Well, there is some trouble in the news this morning. Violence overnight in New York City took at least 1 life and left 20 injured in an eerie echo of the Los Angeles riots this past spring. About 25 people were arrested. Giselle Fernandez is there this morning on Manhattan's Upper West Side. Giselle?
Good morning, Connie. A large police presence remains in Washington Heights this morning, where all at this hour seems calm and quiet and seemingly back to normal. But burned out buildings and heaps of charred debris littering the streets reflects very much what happened here last night when a community got fed up with what it calls another case of police brutality. The street scenes were frighteningly familiar. Abandoned buildings, cars, and trash on fire. Residents pelted police in riot gear with bottles and rocks and gunfire. One man plunged from a rooftop to his death, reportedly trying to escape police. Mayor David Dinkins appealed for calm on Spanish television.
It is absolutely essential that there be no violence.
De que no exista ningún acto de violencia.
Violence will help no one.
The violence erupted in protest to the police killing of 24-year-old Jose Garcia. Police say he was shot as plainclothes officers tried to disarm him. But enraged witnesses say Garcia was unarmed and beaten before being shot in the back.
Started hitting him. Huh? That's what the officer started hitting him with the walkie-talkie.
The mayor vows a thorough investigation of the shooting and reports that officers joked on police scanners that the protesters should be napalmed.
If the culprits are police officers, they will be dealt with. It is not a little bit funny.
An investigation will determine whether a special prosecutor will be brought in to try this case. The unrest comes just 1 week before the Democratic National Convention, an event the city hopes to keep very much separate from the problems here in Washington Heights. Connie?
Thank you, Giselle Fernandez. At the Economic Summit in Munich, leaders of the world's richest nations remain far apart on most economic and trade issues, but the breakup of the Soviet Union and the war in Yugoslavia are giving the summiteers a couple of things to agree on. Randall Pinkston reports.
President Bush and world leaders had been hoping for a breakthrough in long-stalled trade talks. But at a meeting this morning with the European Community's Jacques Delors, Mr. Bush was not optimistic.
We're not anticipating a final agreement out of this meeting. There never has been any.
But one thing they all agreed on was a tougher stance against Serbian attacks on Bosnia. At a formal dinner last night, the G7 leaders sketched out a joint position supporting the United Nations-led relief effort into the Sarajevo airport. The Bush administration also announced support for a plan suggested by Germany to establish a land route to deliver humanitarian assistance. National Security Advisor Brent Scowcroft repeated a pledge of U.S. air and naval cover, but insists he does not anticipate a role for American ground forces to protect the convoys. In a separate action, the U.S. Treasury Department tightened sanctions against the Serb-dominated Yugoslav government. Yugoslav assets in the U.S. were frozen, and a ban was placed on business dealings with Yugoslav companies. This morning, the G7 prepared for an unexpected guest at tonight's state dinner, Russian President Boris Yeltsin. Yeltsin wrangled an invitation by arriving a day early. He's expected to receive renewed pledges of financial assistance, but G7 members are turning aside a suggestion by President Bush that they make their group the G8. The other members say it's just too soon for Russia to join the club. Randall Pinkston, CBS News, Munich.
French officials say they've struck a deal with truck drivers that should end a paralyzing 9-day strike. But so far, more than 150 blockades put up by the truckers on key French highways remain in place. Farmers dumped mounds of rotting fruits and vegetables, angry they couldn't use the highways to get their produce to market. Last year's volcanic eruption of Mount Pinatubo in the Philippines has drastically cooled the entire globe. A U.S. government researcher says the Earth's average temperature has declined about 1 degree Fahrenheit, canceling out a full century of global warming. But scientists say the cooling effect is only temporary, lasting 5 years at tops. In the financial markets this morning, the dollar's lower, and in Tokyo, the stock market was lower. The Nikkei index dropped nearly 200 points, a loss of more than 1%. Wall Street starts the day with the Dow Jones Industrials at 3339. The Dow gained almost 9 points yesterday. And finally, when it comes to giving, Henry Rowan's pockets are deep. Rowan, a New Jersey businessman, donated $100 million to Glassboro State College yesterday. Its largest previous gift was $100,000. It's the biggest donation ever to a public school. Rowan says he's just returning a favor to the state that made him rich.
What we're doing is putting back into society a little bit of what society has given us.
Oh, by the way, Glassboro officials say they will rename their school after Rowan. It's 8 after the hour. Not bad, huh, Mark?
Not bad at all. I'd like to announce, yeah, I'm becoming a 4-year institution, and I will take donations for people out there. I'd name the college after him as well. Let's talk about the weather over here and see what we've got. The latest satellite picture from around the country. Clear in the east, clear down through the south. Little cloud activity through the central part of the country, and also a big cloud mass, as you see down through the south over here. This is from a hurricane. Let's take a little closer look and see exactly what this hurricane is doing. This is Hurricane Darby out in the Pacific. You can see what it's doing. Really no threat to California right now or the West Coast, but it's bringing moisture up to that upper level atmosphere, and what that is doing is making it kind of muggier than it normally is out in the southwestern part of the country. Muggy compared to what, right? We normally have 85 to 95% humidity levels up here. 40 to 50%. Now, what that will do, let's take a look at what that will do as we zero in a little bit further. Little steam bath action going on down there with 100 to 110 degree temperatures with 40 to 50% humidity. It's going to feel like a Turkish steam bath down there in the southwest. Again, be very careful if you're heading out, driving around. Make sure that you've got coolant in that air conditioner, because you don't want to be, I don't know, steam bathed. I'm just making up words here. You don't want to get too much heat on you. Let's take a look at the rest of the country. East Coast, we're going to have a pretty decent day today. Temperatures reflecting not too bad. Temperatures in the 70s and the 80s. This rain that you're seeing up across the Great Lakes will be moving slowly towards the east. We're going to start feeling that in portions of the interior sections of the Northeast by tomorrow. Down through the South, forget about it. If you don't have an air conditioner, make friends with somebody who does, because look at these temperatures. Hot, hot, hot again. That's with 3 T's at the end of HO. Lots of heat. That thunderstorm activity, we talked about that. Warm in the middle of the country, 104 degrees, 109 down in El Paso, 107 in Phoenix. Little shower activity up across the northern Montana, west coast. So outside of those clouds coming in from Hurricane Darby, not going to be too shabby. That's a quick look at the national forecast. Let's take a look at your weather.
Good news if you have corn or beans in the ground. Plenty of rain in store today. Temperatures will range from around 83 to 85 in the north today, 85 to 90. The bad news is we could see some severe weather breaking out by later on today. In fact, pretty good likelihood of that by afternoon.
A lot going on today, a lot of heat. Connie?
Thanks, Mark. It's 10 after the hour. Thousands of jobs and $1 billion shot in the arm. That's what the folks around Spartanburg, South Carolina are hoping for, now that BMW has announced it will build a plant there. The German automaker has plans for a new luxury car and expects to produce up to 60,000 of them in Spartanburg, beginning in 1995. Lane Fowler heads the Spartanburg Area Chamber of Commerce, and he joins us from the future site of the BMW plant. Thank you, Mr. Fowler, for being with us this morning.
Good morning. Welcome to Spartanburg.
Thank you. Thank you. Now tell me, why was Spartanburg selected? And I don't want you to give me the standard Chamber of Commerce answer, all right? Because there really are some fascinating financial reasons and reasons why Spartanburg and South Carolina got this.
Well, when you start looking at why a company selects a specific area, it's a whole matrices of things that are involved in that selection. Incentives were only one part of that, and those incentives were allowed BMW to be competitive in a global market. The other things is the quality of the workforce that we have here.
Oh, let me stop you there for a minute. The quality of the workforce. Isn't it because you all presented a program that was a training program, and that's what BMW was looking for? It was quite an elaborate program.
We put together an awful elaborate program because we have a highly skilled labor force, but it needs to be trained. It needs to be trained in the operations that BMW needs for their facility.
And that was the principal criterion that they had, BMW had, for selecting a city, wasn't it?
It was very much a very principal part of that criteria, was looking at that labor force and how that labor force could be trained to provide suitable labor for BMW to manufacture the quality that they need.
Well, Mr. Fowler, let me ask you, do you think that other cities and other states could do something similar? Because what we're looking for in this economic climate is to create jobs. And would any other state have to have the financial stability or the financial wherewithal that your state has in order to offer something like this to a company overseas?
I think any state can put together such an economic program. It takes the vision of someone like we're fortunate to have in our governor that understood the financial of business, that this is what it would take for BMW to be satisfactory. And in order for them to be successful, then we managed to put them in a very competitive position, and likewise our state in a competitive position. It's a win-win for everybody.
All right. Well, tell me this. You can be very happy about it, but you can also, I think, perhaps be a little embarrassed, because today we're all trying to buy American, and here you are building a foreign car.
Well, you know, when you say you're going to buy America, we're in a global economy. These cars that we're talking about are going to be made in South Carolina, right here in Spartanburg. So that's about as American as you'll get.
All right, I'll buy that. Now, what about the trouble, the traffic congestion? I know other cities that have invited companies to come to their town have actually ended up with more of a headache than they've wanted.
Anytime you have large economic growth, it has the potential of creating certain uncomfortableness if you do not appropriately address the infrastructure it takes to make that growth come to pass. We think we're doing a good job of doing that. We're looking at our highway networks, we're looking at our community development, and we fully intend to address those and be proactive into those things that might cause us difficulty.
All right. Well, Mr. Fowler, I thank you so much. I just received some wire copy that said that landowners in the path of the BMW plant are cashing in big checks and selling their homes. Is that right? Have you heard about that?
Well, we understand the car dealers around here are doing very well. So yes, They are beginning to spend their money, but that's what life's all about.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Lane Fowler, we wish you all well.
Thank you.
Harry?
Coming up on 15 minutes after the hour, next we're going to be talking about the beefsteaks. Who will be Bill Clinton's running mate? And still ahead on CBS This Morning, Robert Krulwich on the media strategies in Campaign 92, plus Dr. Bob Arnott on some heroes who get health care to the people who need it most. And Mark talks to Ringo Starr as the ex-Beatle turns 52.
A simple comparison between the Ford Taurus and the Honda Accord. With a 3-liter V6, the Ford Taurus has a lot to offer under the hood. With an Accord, you'll have to drop some power. The Taurus can hold 6 passengers comfortably. With the Accord, you'll have to drop a passenger. And since its introduction in 1986, there's been a Taurus on every car and driver top 10 list. Accord has been dropped from the list. See your Ford dealer today and prepare to be impressed.
The vacation experience of a lifetime. The Shepherd of the Hills, Branson, Missouri.
Now in Branson, Missouri, Andy Williams. Unlike any other show, Andy Williams, Moon River Theater. Call 417-334-4500.
Each year, more than $600 million are wasted in mail order frauds. The most common hooks are bogus sweepstakes offering fabulous prizes. If you receive a sweepstakes entry or prize notification that seems a little fishy, don't take the bait. Sure, there are oceans of honest companies that do business by mail, but before you bite, call the Better Business Bureau and know for sure. A message from these members of the Better Business Bureau.
A1 Hawkeye Appliance Service, 278-2843, Des Moines Lock Service, Beaverdale, and R. Jones Car Star Collision Repair on the Merle Hay Auto Mile.
Whether you have big feet or small feet, the leather shoe can fit you. We're the size specialist. From dress shoes to casual shoes to sports shoes, we have all those hard-to-find sizes in your favorite brand names for men and women like Rockport, SAS, Keds, Grasshopper, Dexter, and Wolverine. When you shop at the Leather Shoe, you're assured of comfort, fit, and quality. No other store in Des Moines offers you more. Service, size, and selection. If the shoe fits, it's from the Leather Shoe, Merle Hay Mall, Des Moines.
The Clinton campaign now says their candidate's choice for a running mate could be announced this week. Meanwhile, Clinton himself is keeping mum. Joining us this morning from Little Rock is the Clinton campaign's communications director, George Stephanopoulos. Good morning.
Morning, Harry. How are you?
Good. So are you going to make the announcement this week or next week?
Well, that's up to the governor. I think that he's getting closer. He said that. But I don't know exactly when it will be. All I know is that when he picks somebody, the American people will know this is somebody with the experience, the intelligence, and the temperament to be president.
What do you think is Bill Clinton's most important criteria as he goes about picking his running mate?
Well, it's the criteria he set all along. This will not be a political choice. This will not be a choice that's just sprung on the American people at the last minute. He is going to pick somebody who is ready to be president, who, as I said, has the intelligence, the experience, the temperament, and the real wisdom to go on and be president from the first day. The American people will be totally secure knowing that this person is ready to be president.
Is abortion going to be a litmus test for the vice presidential candidate?
Well, I think what Governor Clinton has said is that right now, after 12 years of Reagan and Bush, after the Supreme Court has been packed with people who don't believe in the right to privacy, when the court is, as Justice Blackmun said, one vote away from overturning Roe v. Wade, it is critically important to have a running mate who is pro-choice.
So did Lee Hamilton eliminate himself by talking about his support for some of the restrictions that states are putting on Roe v. Wade?
Well, I don't know. I mean, he is a pro-choice representative. He has supported some of the restrictions in the Pennsylvania law, but I don't know that he has said that he's not pro-choice.
Let's talk about this list a little bit, because every newspaper in the country, every couple of days or so, publishes a list of who's hot, who's not, who's in, who's out, who's on the list, who should be on the list. Of all of these lists, we have seen very few minorities and no women. Why is that?
Well, first of all, I think all those lists are fiction. I mean, I think that's what reporters and political reporters do to pass the time, try and write a list that's shorter.
But people are reporting on folks that your search committee has in fact talked to, that Mr. Clinton himself has had meetings with, and that the list of people who are minorities or women is non-existent virtually.
Well, that's not true. The Warren Commission has met with literally dozens of people from all across the country in this search, and that includes many women and minorities from across the country. As I said, the short lists and the shorter lists are not necessarily reflective of what's going on in the governor's mind or what's going on at the Warren Commission, but they have met with dozens of people from across the country.
So we call it the Warren Commission? Is that... for Warren, Christopher Warren. Okay, all right. So should we talk about who's not on the list then? Can we eliminate some names this morning?
Oh, I don't know.
Bill
Go
Bradley?
ahead and try.
Can we eliminate Bill Bradley?
Well, I think Bill Bradley several weeks and months ago said that he did not want to be considered for vice president, said that he wanted to finish out his term as senator from New Jersey. I think we have to take him at his word. Okay, how about Bob Kerrey? Oh, I don't know. I think that the governor is going to tell us in about a week.
So he is going to wait until the convention for sure?
Not necessarily. I mean, it will be within a week.
Let me ask you this. Is it really Bill Clinton's choice, or is this a consensus?
Absolutely. It is Bill Clinton's choice. He is the Democratic nominee for president. He will be president, and it's got to be a running mate that he's comfortable with.
And why do you think it's important that he choose as opposed to there being some sort of a collective wisdom involved here?
Well, I think it's important to tap on the wisdom of many people, and that's what he's done through Warren Christopher, Vernon Jordan, Madeline Kunin. And as I said, they've talked to people across the country. But in the end, the president has to decide. This is the first important decision of a presidential candidate. It says a lot about who he is and where he wants to take the country. And I think that that's why, in the end, the president must decide.
Well, it looks like you all have mended fences with Mario Cuomo. The governor is going to give the nominating speech next week for Governor Clinton. What are you doing to mend fences with Jesse Jackson?
Well, I think that there are discussions. As you know, that Reverend Jackson